we're going to look inward.
Today we're talking about internal barriers. Through our lesson in self-responsibility, we explored how there's a lot we can accomplish. We reflected just a bit on the troubling legacy of our institutions. Since there is no passive option, since all choices are deliberate and intentional, what do? Before we dive headfirst into equity, there's almost certainly barriers in our way, things that are, if not stopping us, then at least are slowing us down. Let's figure out what they are. We start with the internal. We start with those barriers that are in our heads, not those caused by other people or anything outside of our control. I say this because we all do it naturally, myself included. When we start thinking of what's getting in our way, whether it's about getting a promotion, or buying something special, or in our case, implementing equitable practices in local government, our tendency is to first blame something other than ourselves. Maybe our boss doesn't recognize our contributions, which is why we're denied the promotion. Inflation's too much, which is why that special item is just out of reach. Our elected officials aren't on board, which is why we can't get equity done in our work. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I'll ask us to put aside those thoughts to the side for now. External barriers is the topic of the next video, the next page in the guidebook. We start with internal barriers as that will be our main focus. That is where we can do the most work to get us ready to take action. There are some common barriers many of us face. We might worry about upsetting the people we work with and work for, cause drama or lose credibility. We might not know where to begin, have a case of decision paralysis. There's the fear of making mistakes, of failing, of making things worse. The injustices can feel overwhelming, be way too much to wrap our heads around. There may be a real or perceived concern that we'll face retaliation, as not everyone approves of this work, and we may face professional setbacks. All of these are internal, are our fears, our doubts, our self-imposed restrictions. Do any of these look familiar? Do any come to mind that aren't listed here? Are these internal barriers valid? Sure, these are valid. This is difficult, no two ways about it. It is not about dismissing our internal barriers, of convincing ourselves it's all just a figment of our imagination. It's all right to feel some anxiety or apprehension, want to look the other way when we're confronted with a dangerous beast, literally or in our case, metaphorically. The question is if we're going to face it, if we're going to figure it out, and if we're ultimately going to rise above whatever holds us back. Rest assured, we're not here to be perfect. And this is one of our big takeaways when dealing with internal barriers. We're going to throw a lot of darts at the wall and maybe we'll get a bullseye here and there. Expect to hit all over the target, close to the center, at the edge, and everywhere in between. We'll miss the target too. If we seek perfection, we've already lost before we've begun. Because you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, none of us are. As we start identifying our internal barriers, we can instead establish challenging yet achievable goals. For example, let's say we're seeing inequalities in how we fill potholes, but maybe our internal barriers we doubt if we really know enough about it. We can take steps to ask the questions, do the research, and then bring up our observations and solutions to do a little better. If instead we try to develop the perfect pothole filling equation, well, that sounds like a solid PhD project that's going to take years to do, which most of us aren't going to be able to do. Let's do something we can actually achieve. And you know, this is just the third lesson, with 38 to go just in this guidebook alone. Right now we identify what's stopping us. We'll work through them a step at a time. Taking on our internal barriers is about vulnerability. This is our opportunity to genuinely and transparently improve, get assistance, find humility, and strategize on how we can serve our communities better. Today we sit down and think about what our gaps are, what our shortcomings may be. tomorrow we can take strides to do something about it. After all, the alternative is to hold on to our pride and either deny it and be unaware, or hide it and let it remain a secret. There are different ways to start thinking about and listing out what internal barriers we have. The optional exercise is one way to start. We can think about what skills, knowledge, and experience do we think we lack. Or talk about what fears, doubts, and concerns we currently have when thinking about promoting equity. We can think about what keeps us from accepting that we can indeed make a difference. I say one word so we can really get to the core, get to the heart of the matter. Thank you for coming along this far and for the willingness to look inward. Next time, we'll hit on those external barriers, the challenges that are out there. See you next time.